My name is Natalie Barrasso and I'm the salon owner and master stylist at Retreat Hair, author of the book Love Your Hair, Discover Your Best Hairstyle, and founder of Stay Styled Naturally Satin Pillowcase. Welcome to this edition of A Chat with Nat. Our topic is grey hair transitions. My special guest joining me is an inspiring woman who I have assisted through her colour transition journey, and I have been very excited to get to this stage for the simple reason that she has so kindly agreed to share her experiences of what this journey has been like for her. My beautiful guest's name is Suzanne, and I have a feeling this is going to be a very fun and inspiring chat to share with you. So let's welcome her in. Hello and welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you, Nat. It's nice to be here with you. That was great. You did very well.
Suzanne is the most photographed woman of Retreat Hair and a face that you're all probably very familiar with.
Oh,
and now we get to hear your voice. Yeah. What was that?
And always with a smile.
Yes, always with a smile. All right. So, Suzanne, I'm just going to give a very brief character reference of you and your lifestyle, which I feel can just allow for a bit more relatable engagement from others viewing this chat. Sure. So without going into extreme detail, let's just share that you are a career woman and you have an important role within what you do. That means you need to be presentable because you see clients yourself and there are occasions where you have to present in front of other colleagues. So therefore, presentation means a lot to you professionally as it does for you personally. You also have a family.
Yes.
And with your family, you like to attend social occasions and important events. So is that all fair to say?
All fair to say, yes.
All fair to say? Okay.
Yes.
So I also want to mention, you've come to see me for the first time when you were looking to begin a grey hair colour transition. So I hadn't seen you before for prior hair services. Let's just briefly chat about the background of your hair and the maintenance routine you had before seeing me.
Grey hair had been an issue for me for a long time because I had first grey hairs when I was 19. So it was a long time that it was an issue for me, not so much in the early years, but I coloured my hair for a long time. And the more I coloured, the coarser it became. And so I tried organic colours and lots of different variations, which also tended to be colours that faded quicker. And then when the keratin treatments came in, I thought I'd try those and they would then strip the colour. So I think when we first had our conversation about my hair, when you suggested I might like to work with my natural colour, I had just had a keratin and the colour had gone orange.
We'll just keep going that way because that was going to be my first question, and I love the story. So let's share it with everybody else. So I was going to officially ask you, tell us the story of when the first seed was planted.
Yes.
So all right. So how did that go?
So I'd had my keratin and the seed was planted, but I was not receptive at all to the comment or the thought because, like I think a lot of people, I thought I can't go grey, I'll look old. And that's you hear that, I'm sure you hear it a lot, I hear it a lot, especially with friends in our 50s, that's the big concern. As we get older, we don't necessarily want to look old. So that was when the seed was planted, but I wasn't quite ready. And I think we've had this discussion before, you need to be ready. There needs to be a trigger. But you certainly planted the seed.
Yeah. So just to fill others in, I came off to drop some paperwork off for a whole different unrelated thing altogether. And I don't know that I even knew you that well at that point. And I don't know why I said it, but I was just admiring, this sounds crazy, your regrowth. And it just came out. I don't think I did this. I've never done this to anyone else. And in my safe space at the salon, I feel like I have permission to, but I've never done that to anyone outside of the salon. But for whatever reason, it felt safe enough to do so. And I said, have you ever thought of working with that? And your initial reaction was?
Horrified. I was horrified. Absolutely.
I think
horrified.
A few swear words came out.
Yeah,
but
something like that. There would have been a lot had I known you better.
So that probably. So that was really the first time you'd had anyone actually say something like that to you?
In a positive way. So people had, I'd had discussions about my regrowth, but it was always in a negative way, where you were the only person who put a positive slant on it.
Yeah. So I was looking at it with a smile.
Exactly. But what can you do with this?
So what then brought you to the next stage?
It had been building up because was getting more white hair, and the maintenance was enormous. Every 3 weeks. I was booked in every 3 weeks to go and sit there and have my colour done. And that became costly. It was time consuming. I mean, I'd take time out of my day to do it. And I just wasn't enjoying it. And when I would come out of the hairdresser with my colour, I would think that's fabulous. And then the next morning I'd wake up and I'd have regrowth, within 1 or 2 days. I'd start to see the little whites because I was trying to be a brunette, which was my original colour, and the contrast was too great. I was getting very frustrated with the whole process, and I saw finally that there was an alternative, but I was very scared of the process.
Yeah. So I've done an interview before with another lovely lady who I have taken through the process. And what I was excited to talk to you about was that I believe your journey and your experiences have been very different. So it's nice to hear different versions of what this journey is like. Now, I asked her this question, and I'll ask you as well. Did you find that it was something that you shared with friends and family, the idea that you're going to go and...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah? That was really interesting because I would tell people, and I'd say, I'm thinking of doing this, and I'd show people photos of growing grey, and there was no positive comment. Most people, especially women my age, were horrified. I looked
now these are friends and family, right? So because you told people you knew
my
first.
husband was extremely supportive. He was very supportive. So every time I got my hair coloured, he'd say, you should just let it go. You should just let it go great. I started then looking around to see what people look like with grey hair, because I always had this impression that I was going to look like a frizzy grey-haired woman. So I started looking at photos on Instagram and seeing other people who I thought looked really good with grey hair. So I thought, oh, well, maybe it's a possibility.
Of something you did online where you could change the colour of your hair.
I did a Snapchat filter.
That's it. And I don't know that, I mean, I played around with it, I think, with the kids for it's like pinks and purples and different fun things. And I don't know that I've ever seen anyone do the grey filter who I believe turned out almost exactly.
I know.
Great. That's rare, but it was actually your true image. But who would have known it would have been so true to that?
It was so realistic. And I looked at the photo and I thought, I think I could actually do that. And that was a bit of a turning point. And then when I did decide, wanted you to do it, because you were the only one who'd put a positive slant on it, I could feel you had the confidence to do it. You knew what you were going to be doing with it.
Yeah, it's still kind of new, still new direction. So and you kind of answered it. You said you had a lot of negative comments. Did that influence your hesitations about going into it? Did you feel...
what concerned me the most was how I was going to get started and how I was going to look after I started. So was I going to grow out my regrowth and then have, orange brown hair down here? How was it all going to look? And I didn't want to compromise my length. That was the thing. Yes. So I know a lot of people who decide to make sort of drastic changes will do the big chop, but I didn't want to do that because of the nature of my hair and the way it sits better when it's that little bit longer.
And it's you suit this long hair. And I didn't say it right at the beginning, but you're looking stunning.
Oh, thank you. Thanks to
you. Amazing what a blow dry can do. But I'm working with great colour now because it's all 100% natural.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel that you felt as aligned with your style?
Oh, I certainly feel very comfortable with this hair. I don't feel the anxiety, and it sounds pretty dramatic, but I don't feel anxious about making sure that I don't have regrowth, because it was the classic round the hairline and the part line. So it's right in your face when there's that regrowth. And it's not grey hair that makes you look old, it's the regrowth that makes you, which
I
ages
actually have
you.
said that many times.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily make you look old, but it ages you. And the other thing that I love is the condition, because it's actually changed the texture. It feels so much better. It's easier to work with. I didn't believe you that it would be, but it is.
Yeah.
So it's all of that.
It just gets better and better.
Yeah.
Now, how long ago would you say we've hit the 2-year mark?
Well, so the last time I coloured my hair brown was the 20th of February 2020.
Okay.
So it was just before COVID, and then we went into lockdown, and I think I had a significant amount of regrowth. And then when we came out of lockdown, I sent you a message on Instagram and said, Nat, it's time.
Yeah.
So, and it started from there. So I think my first treatment with you was about May 2020. So there was, a couple of months of regrowth, of healthy regrowth in there.
Yes. And COVID, I forgot that timeline. That definitely helped get a more significant regrowth.
Yes.
And I feel that when you see a substantial amount of regrowth, and I say this to a lot of women, that you could probably put it in better words, the fear starts to diminish a little bit. You start to feel like you can see what's going on there, and that you become more intrigued about what could that look like.
That's right. And what used to happen to me is I often tie my hair back, and so what I would see was the white hair. And I just found there was something soft about it against my skin, and that was the other thing. I think with the aging skin and the change in your skin tone, for me it was better to have the lighter colour hair than try to have a very dark colour up against my skin.
Yes. So you did say right at the beginning, it was something I was going to ask you here, is at any stage of your transition or after arriving at full natural hair colour, what would you now say against that stigma of it aging you or feeling old?
It's really interesting, because the one thing that I thought after I'd started, and often say to people who are hesitant, is that I would actually have started it earlier. It's a natural and it's an organic thing that your hair and your skin will complement each other. So what I was trying to do is have dark hair, which didn't suit my skin tone, which it was also changing. So to have your hair colour and your skin colour aligned is probably a better way. So if anything, I probably should have done it sooner.
And looking back, I think, and whether this builds momentum for other women listening who might be thinking, maybe next year, maybe when I turn 50, maybe when I turn 60, that starting earlier is actually sometimes a better thing, but you can't necessarily rush the process of how it feels. And I personally feel like it has to really feel like you are ready, that you want that next change or new look.
Yeah.
But that doesn't even have to be natural color or embracing white. That could be for any new change, that you have to be totally on board to give it a shot. And then you'll always have a much more positive experience. What's the word I'm trying to look for? The safety net is that you can always color your hair again if you didn't like it.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. That's not happening.
You decided pretty quick at the beginning, right? That was not going to be.
Oh no, pretty much as soon as I started, I thought there's no going back. And I don't know if I mentioned a good friend of mine. She's who I've known for 20 years. She's always been grey, and I used to look at her and think, gee, if I could look as good as her, I would do it. And I think that's the problem, is that we don't realise that it will look good.
Yeah.
It has to be done properly too. It's it's not just about growing it out and leaving it.
But that's something that comes up a lot. I think a lot of women look and probably will be looking at your hair as well and saying, oh, but I don't have that much white, or I don't have that same color, or I'm not going to look that good. And yet my experience has been with anyone who has actually taken that step and embraced the natural color, that they have actually fallen in love with their own hair color. Yeah. And then other women who haven't done it yet, I'd say to them, oh, but I don't have your hair, I don't have your color. So I think we kind of, and no one's ever going to have the same white. No one's ever going to have the same white, the same texture, nothing. No. So, but it works, like you just said, it really looks great.
And the other thing that I have to say is I've had so many compliments from men. And I think that's the other thing that holds women back, is that we think that we're not going to look good, and we're going to become this invisible middle-aged women. But there's something striking about the difference. So I've probably had more compliments from men than I have from women, who notice it.
That I love that you brought that up, because I do have women say that to me, and they don't mean it in any other way other than, you know, they didn't expect that they would be acknowledged or noticed, and that fear of, I think for most women aging, and I see women in my salon from 50 to 70 to 80 years old, and there is definitely a conversation sometimes, and it's not nice to hear, but I do hear a lot that women start to feel like they become invisible. But I feel like we also possibly can start to hide away, and that's when you're trying to maintain something that was you in your 20s and 30s but is out of alignment later. And rather than knowing where to go with that, because we can all feel lost, when you step into a space that does fit, I feel like that shield of invisibility is gone. Just like you said, like totally the opposite, invisible. You have people, you've told me, come up to you, strangers.
Yeah. And I think, just going back to that point about the invisibility, is that it gets to the point where you think, I don't look young anymore, and I'm starting to look old. Well, the reality is we are aging, and it's not about looking young, it's about looking good.
Yes.
So once that, and that's a mindset, and I had that too. I need to look young. I don't want to look old. I want to look young, but I'm not young. And I think what's important to me now is that I try to look good rather than look young.
Yeah. And that's, I reckon that's like a perfect message. Like, I don't even know if we're probably almost gone. It's a full package. It's perfect. What you remember of your routine with coloured hair and keratin treatments, how do you have a simple way of saying how you feel that routine compares right now?
Well, I'm not doing the colours, and I'm not doing the keratin. I do still get a blow waved once a week, because that's easier for me. But
and it's a nice luxury, I think, to be able to you know, when you've moved away from so much maintenance that was overwhelming, it's nice to kind of give yourself a little gift of a nice blow dry. I think that's something a lot of women should do.
The difference is that previously there's no way I could have blow waved it myself, and I would have had to have tied it up. Whereas now I can, and I can do a decent job, because it's not as coarse, and it's easier to manage. So, and I have some good products.
Hydration. Let's just say hydration. We'll start there. I get everybody hydrating their hair.
Yes.
So, silly question, but do you miss having coloured hair, but not for the regrowth, just for the option of being able to play or decide to do different colours?
Oh, no, definitely not. No. Do not miss it at all. No. You know, I look at photos of me with brown hair now, and that looks odd.
I'd have to agree. I think this suits you so well.
If I look at photos of me when I was, you know, my 20s and 30s with brown hair, that's a bit different. But to look at a photo of myself in my 50s with brown hair looks odd.
Yes. Yeah, there you go.
I would never colour it. No. I love the colour. I really love it.
Yeah. And colouring, by that you mean, I think it's fair to say, you mean like actual colours, but putting a toner through or freshening it up with something like that to basically shine up what is natural without putting
never be a brunette again.
No. I don't think I'd let you, even if you stopped coming to me. I think I'd chase you down and be like, stop.
We work too hard. But, you know, having said we worked too hard, you worked hard, but the process was a great process to do it, because I think the big thing was the first treatment, because I had no idea what to expect, and I came out much better than what I thought. I would be. I was sort of open to, anything goes, but I was so thrilled with the result. And then it just, from there, it just was easy to keep that going until
progress.
We're probably about 6 months into all natural hair, would you say?
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And so that was something else. I get asked a lot, how long does it take overall?
Yeah.
And I would answer that in two ways. There is the blending that is done professionally to morph the natural color into the pre-existing color to make what you're growing out less of a burden. But the actual transitioning and eventually cutting away all the old color, whether it's the gray, the artificial gray that was put in there, and whites, takes as long as your hair takes to grow. And for most people, and looking at your length, that's every bit a 2-year growth. And some. But if someone was to have a slightly shorter length, well, then you're chopping off some time there as well. So you might be a year and a half. That's for natural, no color whatsoever. But the actual process starts blending right from the beginning, which is to minimize and remove regrowth, really. Yeah,
and that just made life so much easier just from day one.
Yeah, you feel more presentable.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's about being confident. So what would you say to someone who was thinking, I mean, I can imagine someone's looking at you right now and thinking, wow, I love that, but they still think, I don't think I could have that too. What would you say that might, or think of it like this, what would you have liked to know at the beginning of your transition that you've learned?
Look, I think the most important thing for me was that I actually had that bizarre Snapchat opportunity to see what I'd look like. And
actually, that's
and I think that even though after my first session I didn't look anything like that, I looked like I look now. There's no harm in trying, because if you start that transition and do the blending session, you can always go back if you hate it.
That's it.
But you really need to try it. Well, had I known, it actually would soften my overall look. I think that would have been helpful. And, I have to say that seeing that Snapchat photo of me with grey hair, I thought, oh, actually I can do that. It's not that harsh.
I think the surprise, though, for even me, is that looking back today at that snapshot photo again, I don't know anyone who looks so like their photo.
Snapchat filter.
So you probably could have then told yourself, you're actually going to look like that.
Yeah.
So don't worry. Whereas I would never promise anyone he's going to look like, their digital photo image. But in your case, it worked. It worked.
Yeah. And, I think when we were planning that first session, and you and I spoke about the different looks and the different types of hair and why one looked one way and one looked the other way. And that was really helpful too, what your expectation was.
Yes. Yeah. Suzanne, it was a pleasure to have this chat with you. Thank you for sharing your experiences. And I look forward to how you evolve continually, like moving forward with your hairstylers. You know what? We keep experiencing different things with life. We keep changing as women. And I think it's a positive way to think that, your hairstyle can keep evolving with you. So
that's right. And change is good. I think that's one of the things that we fear, that change. But change is good. And I'd like to thank you, Nat, because it was only because of you and your little seed that I felt comfortable enough to do this. And that was a huge thing. It is actually a huge hurdle to jump. And you held my hand jumping over the hurdle. So thank you for that.
It was unique, mate. It must be meant to be, because like I said, I don't go up to women that I don't know and say things like that. But I think, you know what, it's been the best transformation ever. Yeah, looks great. It was fun. However, I don't let anyone go without playing my end of chat with Nat game.
Okay, end of chat with Nat game. Okay.
Yeah. It's called Would You Rather.
Okay, would I rather? Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Go.
So we're going to go. All right.
Would I rather have brown hair or grey hair? Give me the first one.
Well, I wasn't going to be that obvious. So we'll start. Okay. But I'm going to guess. All right. What would you rather?
A grey hair.
White hair.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now at my age, grey hair.
Grey hair. All right. Soft natural waves or a slick straight look?
I do like both. I'm probably tending a bit towards the soft though.
Okay. Would you rather doing the Kokoda Trail or the Greenway of Lake Como?
Well, I've done the Kokoda Trail. You know that.
I do.
So
But maybe you loved it that much that you do it again.
Do Lake Como because so that I don't know that one.
Yeah, good answer. Sweet or savoury?
Oh, savoury, definitely.
Yeah, my weakness too. City living or beachside living?
It's a bit tough. I am a city chick, but I do love the beach. So that one's a tough one. I like a balance.
Yeah, I reckon it depends on the weather too.
Yeah. Although I don't mind the beach in winter.
Yeah, okay. Well, so which way we're swaying?
Let's go beach.
Beach. All right. For a formal hairstyle, would you prefer wearing your hair up or down?
Down.
Okay.
Don't have the right head for an updo.
Oh, I might have to show you one of those.
Yes.
Next time. So for entertaining, would you prefer being the host or the guest?
I like hosting.
Hosting? Okay. Would you rather raining men or il ballo del quaqua?
Yes. Raining men as long as your husband is dancing out front.
You know what? You've got to see him dance both. You've seen one. You've got to see the other one.
I haven't seen the other one.
That's why I'm laughing, the vision in my head. Anyway, not about us, about you. Number 8, Alfa Romeo or Vespa? This is going to be interesting because I'm looking at a photo right behind you.
Oh, yes. I got Vespa here. I'll have to go the Vespa.
I like that photo too.
Though.
I can see half of it, but I like it. All right, number 9, a relaxing scalp massage or a nice, strong, cleansing shampoo hair wash?
Oh, the shampoo hair wash.
Thought you'd say that. Number 10, limoncello or a G&T?
All G&T.
G&T.
Yeah.
My kind of girl. Well, you did very well.
Oh, thank you.
That was fun. However,
well, thank you, and I will see you soon.
No worries. All right. Thank you again.
Thanks, Nat. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this edition of A Chat with Nat and all the things Suzanne shared with us. And I look forward to seeing you back here with more videos that I share very soon. How did you feel about those negative comments that were thrown at you when you made your decision to actually go into a grey hair transition? What was that experience like?
Well, a lot of the negative comments were before I'd actually started. And it was that, oh, you look old. And you know, it was discouraging, but I was sort of on this trajectory. I'd made the decision. Once I did start, a few people asked me whether I was going to keep it that way. Was I going to go back to colouring my hair?
And just kind of like stopped at that? Because I find I get a lot of feedback. People say, someone will say something like, oh, so you're going to keep doing that? And then there's nothing else after that. It's just.
And I think it's not because it doesn't look good, but it's just not normal.
I think also people worry that you're moving in a trend or a direction that scares them. And it actually is more about them than it is actually about you.
I think so.
You bring visually their fear to life.
Yeah.
I wonder that that's why it is, because I do tell people when I'm helping them and mentoring them through this at the beginning, I do feel it's powerful to know what kind of comments can come at you. And I think I said this with you too. Don't be surprised if you get as equally amount of positive and everyone on board can't wait to see what your result's going to look like, and then the same kind of energy in the negative. And I think when you're aware or pre-warned, then when it comes at you, it's almost like a shock more than it hurt. Like,
yes, that's right.
Nat said that.
Yeah. And one other thing that I hadn't mentioned in terms of comments is that a lot of people asked me if it's natural.
Oh. As in afterwards or during your process?
You know, even now people ask me if it's natural because they don't think that grey hair can look
that
good
good.
naturally. So this must be a colour.
Yeah, wow.
Which is interesting too. And I said, no, it's natural.
It's natural. Which I kind of feel like in a weird way gives actually, I feel like that just gives permission for women to go and approach their natural colour just like they would any other colour.
Yeah.
It's just another colour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's inspiring.
Don't
hang up.
No, I'm not going to. Was that all right? Hey, listen, can you take...
All right. Pause there.
Pause there. Okay.
Oh my God. I think so. I normally set myself up with water and everything, and I don't know why that...
But you know what? It was cold this morning, and now it's heated up. The sun's out, so it's really humid.
Sun's out, blue sky.
Sweating.
Far out.
I've just
so glowy. I know, your skin. Your skin looks amazing.
Is it? God, I didn't even put anything on. I just got a bit of powder and went...
Oh!
After I left you, I
made all this effort. She puts nothing on.
That's what I recommend. We might have to repeat that because my battery's about to die. Can you hang on?
Gives me a chance to fix up my hair. I'm getting flat.
Sorry, Nat.
No. Oh my God, what's going on with me? I reckon I've got a hot flush or something. Can't believe I'm going to say bring on winter. Whew. All right.
Thanks, Nat. Bye.
Take care. Speak soon.
See you. Bye.
See ya.